History doesn't usually announce itself before it changes. Most of the time, it arrives quietly, hidden inside an ordinary moment that almost nobody notices. A young player walks onto a grass court. The crowd applauds politely. The cameras focus on the favorites. And somewhere in the draw is a 21-year-old from the Philippines carrying the hopes of an entire nation without saying a word. But this wasn't just another Wimbledon story. This was the beginning of something tennis had never witnessed before. For more than a century, players from every corner of the world chased glory on the sport's most famous stage. Champions were crowned. Legends were born. Records were broken. Yet through all those decades, one achievement remained untouched. Not a single Filipino had ever entered Wimbledon as a seeded player. Until Alex Eala changed everything. When the official rankings confirmed Alex as the tournament's 29th seed, it wasn't simply another number beside her name. It represented generations of dreams that had never found a path forward. For over 100 years, no Filipino player had reached that position. Not once. Then suddenly, history belonged to a young woman who was only beginning to discover how far her talent could take her. The moment spread across the Philippines almost instantly. Fans celebrated. Sports headlines exploded. Even people who had never watched a tennis match understood the importance of what had just happened. Because this wasn't only about tennis anymore. It was about possibility. One of the first people to publicly celebrate the achievement was Manny Pacquiao. For decades, he had carried the Philippine flag onto the world's biggest stages, becoming one of the greatest athletes the country had ever produced. When he spoke proudly about Alex on national television, the message reached millions. It wasn't just praise from another celebrity. It was recognition from someone who understood what it meant to represent an entire nation under unimaginable pressure. And if Manny Pacquiao believed something extraordinary was happening, people paid attention. But the remarkable part of this story didn't begin at Wimbledon. It didn't even begin on a professional tour. It started years earlier with a little girl holding a tennis racket almost as big as she was. At just 4 years old, Alex discovered a sport that very few children in the Philippines ever dreamed of pursuing professionally. Basketball dominated playgrounds. Boxing inspired generations because of Pacquiao. Tennis was different. There were no Filipino women inside the WTA's elite. No Grand Slam role models. No blueprint explaining how to climb from local courts to the biggest stadiums in the world. Imagine growing up without anyone who had already completed the journey you're attempting. There was no former Filipino star waiting to answer difficult questions. No one who could explain what it felt like to play under the lights of a Grand Slam. Every challenge Alex would eventually face had no national reference point. Every milestone she reached would become the first of its kind. That meant every victory carried more weight than anyone outside the Philippines could fully understand. But what happened behind the scenes shaped her far more than any ranking ever could. Long before international coaches noticed her talent, one man believed she could become something special. He wasn't a famous coach. He had never played on the professional circuit. He wasn't connected to powerful academies or wealthy sponsors. He was simply her grandfather, Roberto Mano, lovingly known throughout the family as Lolo Bob. Every single day, he arrived with baskets filled with tennis balls. Hour after hour, he fed those balls across the court to Alex and her brother. There were no television cameras watching. No promises that the sacrifices would eventually pay off. Just quiet consistency. Every practice represented another investment in a dream that nobody could guarantee would ever come true. Those early lessons reached far beyond forehands and backhands. Lolo Bob taught discipline before talent, patience before results, hard work before recognition. He showed Alex that improvement isn't built through one incredible day. It's created through thousands of ordinary days that nobody remembers. That mentality would eventually become her greatest weapon when victories disappeared and doubts began to grow louder. Then, at just 12 years old, something happened that completely changed the direction of her life. Alex won one of the world's most respected junior tournaments in France. The victory didn't just earn another trophy. It attracted attention from one of the most prestigious tennis academies on earth. Scouts from the Rafa Nadal Academy saw something they couldn't ignore. Soon after, an extraordinary opportunity arrived. A full scholarship. A chance to train in Spain among future champions. For most teenagers, leaving home at 13 would already feel overwhelming. Leaving your country, your family, your language, and everything familiar to chase an impossible dream was something else entirely. Think about that moment. While most children her age worried about school assignments and weekend plans, Alex packed her belongings and boarded a plane toward an entirely different life. She wasn't following a well-traveled path. No Filipino player had gone ahead to show her what waited on the other side. Every step into Spain was another step into complete uncertainty. She left behind the courts where she had learned the game and the grandfather who had believed in her before anyone else ever did. And this is where the story becomes even more emotional. In 2019, Lolo Bob passed away. Before the biggest chapters of Alex's career unfolded, before the world began recognizing her name, before Wimbledon, before Miami, before the historic ranking, he was gone. He never watched her compete on tennis's grandest stages. He never saw crowds chanting her name. He never witnessed the history he had unknowingly helped create years earlier with nothing more than a basket of tennis balls and endless belief. Most people would have been broken by that loss. But Alex carried something far more powerful than memories. She carried his lessons. Every difficult practice. Every quiet reminder to stay humble. Every moment of discipline became part of who she was whenever she stepped onto a court. And although the world hadn't fully discovered her yet, something much bigger was already beginning to take shape. By 2025, whispers about Alex started spreading throughout professional tennis. Coaches noticed her improvement. Analysts talked about her potential. Tournament organizers began paying attention. Her ranking continued climbing, but outside tennis circles, very few people understood what was coming. That would soon change in spectacular fashion. One tournament was about to introduce Alex Eala to millions of new fans around the world. And once it happened, nothing about her career would ever be the same again. When Alex arrived at the 2025 Miami Open, almost nobody expected her name to dominate the headlines. She wasn't one of the tournament favorites. She wasn't even among the highest-ranked players in the draw. In fact, she entered with a wild card, a special invitation that gave her a chance to compete against the world's elite. To many people, she looked like another promising young player gaining experience. But what nobody realized was that this tournament was about to become the moment the tennis world could no longer ignore her. Her ranking sat around 140 in the world. On paper, that number told a simple story. She wasn't supposed to beat the biggest stars. She wasn't supposed to survive deep into the tournament. She certainly wasn't expected to challenge Grand Slam champions. Yet rankings don't measure belief. They don't calculate courage. And they definitely don't predict what happens when someone steps onto the court with absolutely nothing to lose. Her first major statement came against Madison Keys, an established star, a proven champion, someone with years of experience on the biggest stages in tennis. Many expected the match to end quickly. Instead, Alex matched every challenge with fearless tennis. Every winner she struck sent another message. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't intimidated. She belonged. When the final point was over, people started asking a different question. Who exactly is Alex Eala? But that question became much louder in her next match. Standing across the net was Iga Swiatek, one of the most dominant players in women's tennis and a multiple Grand Slam champion. The difference in experience was enormous. The rankings heavily favored Swiatek. Logic suggested the fairy tale would finally end. Yet sport has never cared much about logic. From the opening games, Alex played with remarkable composure. She attacked when opportunities appeared. She defended with confidence. Most importantly, she refused to play like someone grateful just to share the court. Point after point, pressure shifted toward the favorite. The crowd sensed something extraordinary unfolding. Then, suddenly, the impossible became reality. Alex defeated one of the greatest players in the world. The reaction inside the Philippines was immediate. Social media exploded with celebration. Television stations interrupted regular programming. News outlets across the country carried the story. Overnight, Alex transformed from a rising prospect into a national sensation. For millions of Filipinos, her victory represented far more than one upset. It answered a question that had lingered for decades. Could someone from the Philippines truly compete with the very best in the world? Alex had just answered that question with a racket in her hand. But success brings something failure never does. Expectation. Once you shock the world, people don't remember where you started. They only expect you to keep winning. Every opponent studies your game more carefully. Every tournament becomes another test. Every loss suddenly feels bigger than before. And that's exactly where Alex found herself only weeks later. The Italian Open in Rome became a completely different experience. Fans arrived expecting another magical run. Experts wanted proof that Miami wasn't simply a once-in-a-lifetime performance. Instead, the match became one of the toughest moments of her young career. Marta Kostyuk overwhelmed Alex from the very first point. The scoreboard became brutal. Game after game slipped away. Alex lost the opening 10 games before finally getting on the board. The final score was harsh, and the match ended far quicker than anyone expected. For critics, this was the evidence they had been waiting for. Maybe Miami had been luck. Maybe the pressure was already too much. Maybe the fairy tale had reached its ending. Those opinions spread quickly. But what happened next revealed far more about Alex than any victory ever could. She didn't hold dramatic interviews. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame the conditions, the schedule, or her team. She simply returned to work. Quietly, patiently, day after day. The same way she had learned as a little girl hitting thousands of balls with Lolo Bob. While people debated her future online, Alex focused on improving the only thing she could control, herself. That quiet response would soon produce something even more impressive than Miami. As the grass court season arrived, everything started clicking again. At Birmingham, Alex captured another professional title, proving her confidence hadn't disappeared after Rome. But Birmingham was only the beginning. The real statement came in Berlin, where she entered another elite tournament as a wild card surrounded by some of the biggest names in tennis. Waiting in the draw were Grand Slam champions. Players feared across every surface. Athletes with years of experience winning the sport's biggest matches. First came Elena Rybakina. Powerful, dangerous. Most expected Rybakina's experience to prove too much. Instead, Alex played some of the finest tennis of her career. She absorbed the pressure, created opportunities, and earned one of the biggest victories of the season. But then came an even greater challenge. Alina Svitolina, another proven champion. Another player expected to end Alex's remarkable run. Instead, history repeated itself. Alex defeated Svitolina as well, completing back-to-back victories over two Grand Slam champions on grass. Suddenly, people weren't calling her a surprise anymore. They were calling her a genuine threat. Former world number 4 Greg Rusedski watched those performances closely, and his reaction echoed throughout the tennis world. He described the victories as incredibly impressive and made a prediction that caught everyone's attention. He believed Alex's breakthrough at the highest level wasn't a matter of if, but when. He also explained why grass suited her game so well. As a left-hander, her slice serve naturally moved away from opponents, creating angles that became even more dangerous on faster courts. When someone with decades of experience at Wimbledon publicly says he can't wait to watch you compete, people listen. And suddenly, the conversation changed. Nobody was asking whether Alex belonged anymore. They were asking how far she could go. But Wimbledon is unlike any other tournament. Every blade of grass carries history. Every match feels heavier. Every mistake is magnified under the spotlight of the sport's oldest and most prestigious championship. Champions arrive prepared for this moment their entire lives. The draw includes the biggest names in tennis, players who know exactly how to handle pressure when millions are watching. Alex entered as the tournament's 29th seed, making history before hitting a single ball. Yet history alone doesn't win matches. If she advanced through the early rounds, even tougher challenges would be waiting. The world's elite stood between her and an unforgettable run. The opportunity was real. So was the difficulty. Still, there was one thing rankings couldn't measure: Momentum. Confidence. Belief. Alex had already shown she could beat Grand Slam champions. She had already proven she could recover from painful defeats. Most importantly, she had demonstrated something every future champion needs: the ability to grow stronger after disappointment instead of allowing it to define them. That is why Wimbledon suddenly felt different. It wasn't simply another tournament on the calendar. It felt like the next chapter of a story that was only beginning. And deep inside that story remained one powerful truth. Every time Alex stepped onto the court, she wasn't carrying only her own dream. She carried the hopes of an entire nation that had waited more than 100 years to witness a moment exactly like this. And whether the journey ended in the first round or on center court, one thing had already become undeniable. History no longer belonged to the past. It was following Alex Eala with every single step she took.